everyone, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Winnie and this is Wedding with Winnie. Alright y'all, I feel like it's been forever since I've been on camera, but I'm back at it. Oh yeah? Today's video, we'll be talking about the 221G administrative processing process while you're navigating the US visa process. If you're ready, I am. Let's go! Alright y'all, the first thing I want to talk about is what is the 221G form. So that form basically means that you need to provide additional information or you have to go through a background check. So like I shared already, this is my personal experience, and for me my process was the DS5535 process, and basically it was a long document, really long it felt like, basically asking about the places I've traveled to like all over the world, I think for the past 10 years. So like places I've traveled to, the addresses I've lived at before, just a bunch of like different information. That was what the document was requesting for. So I basically, okay, let's go back to how it started. So basically I have been on the F1 student visa. I was on it for like 6 years. Because I came here, did my bachelor's on it. Sorry, I did my associates, my bachelor's, and my master's degree on it. And then after my master's degree, I was on OPT for 1 year, which is optional practical training. And then after OPT, I now the university I work at, you know, we're able to sponsor like my work visa, which is called the H-1B visa. So basically when I went home to Nigeria, I was supposed to just have this visa stamped so I can, in order to be able to return. Anyways, so I went to the interview and I was asked 2 questions. I was asked, what is the name of the company you work at, and how much is your salary, which I told them. And then the visa officer who interviewed me said they had to put my application on an administrative processing. I was like, okay, thank you. And I left. So the next day, I get an email basically with the document I described, which was the DS5535, asking me to fill it out and email it right back to them. And y'all, your girl was, I was straight typing. Anyways, I figured out all the information they needed, and then I emailed back the form. And you guys, it was a crazy process. So it was, for me, I feel like it was mentally exhausted. It was extremely challenging, and also just working remotely too was really tough. I'm extremely grateful that my employer allowed me to work remotely while I navigated this process, but it wasn't easy. You guys know, like Africa, we don't have like constant internet, there's no constant electricity, so just navigating all of that was tough. But I don't know, like I felt like I let myself go at that period because I was just extremely stressed and I was anxious, and I was like, oh my gosh, what if I'm not able to go back to the US? Like, I had just got married, which I know is news, but yes, y'all, I'm married. But I had just got married to, like, my husband had to move back, like he came back to the US, so I was there like with my parents and, you know, some friends and family, so that was nice, but it was still a lot. So let me go back to my script. So basically I did want to talk to you guys about, you know, typically when you go for your US interview, there's 3 things that can happen. So at the interview, after, you know, you've answered all the questions that the visa officer asks you, they can either approve you on the spot, which basically means you're good to go. They'll tell you when, so they collect and keep your passport, and then they'll tell you when you pick it up and how to pick it up. Typically they give you like a white form, at least at the embassy in Abuja, Nigeria, they give you a white form with information on DHL, that's where you pick up, or if you had, like, I know they do like some sort of premium services now. So that's the first option. The second thing that can happen is they can tell you you're being put on administrative processing, which was what I was put on. Administrative processing can take as little as 2 to 3 days to whenever. I will say that the DS5535, what I went through, like some people are on that for like up to a year. Even some people I talked to had been on it for over a year. And then the last thing that can happen is you are just denied. So they tell you you're denied and give you the reason why. And typically you're able to reapply again. So being denied once doesn't mean like you're denied from ever going to the US. I know people who did not get a US visa until like their third time, their fourth time. So it's not like once denied is not forever denied. You're able to reapply again. But basically that's the three things that could happen after your interview. And like I said, a little bit about how it impacted me was just, you know, so actually I had done my traditional wedding in Nigeria, and I was supposed to do my US wedding like a month later, and that ended up having to be canceled, which I'm still figuring out how to, you know, reschedule that. So that was challenging because we had paid different vendors, which I'd lost some of my money because I wasn't like, you know, those vendors are not going to give you my money. So, but I guess the big thing is like the venue we're using, they were really amazing, and they've, you know, offered to like give us a different date instead of like, you know, just us losing all that money. So I'm grateful for that. But I would say that was challenging. So there's some ways that you can check your status. So I use the CAEC website. There was also an app. I don't remember the name of the app, but I will put a picture right up here as well so you guys can see it. But that was the app that I used. So I put in like my number, not my phone number. There's a number you get from like, what is it called? It's not the A number, but there's a number you get when you do your application. So I put in that number, and that was the number I used to track. So it would tell me like the number of days I'd been waiting. Y'all, immigration process is not for the weak-minded, because let me tell you, you have to be strong, you have to be resilient, and you have to believe that it's gonna work. And if you're someone who believes in God, man, you gotta pray. Like I prayed, I fasted. My parents, my whole family prayed and fasted. So it was really challenging. Some of the other things I tried, the first thing I tried was I had my university write me a letter. My university, by that, because I work in a university, so wherever you work at, if you work at a company, I knew people who were working at like Apple and Microsoft, they had like their human resources write them a letter basically talking about, you know, like the work that they do, that, you know, the importance of being in person, and how much money the company is losing or the university is losing by having that person be remote. So that was what I tried. So my university had written a letter, I think like a week after I'd gotten the DS-5535 or the administrative processing, and I sent that. So my university wrote it and sent it to me, and I sent it over to the same email that had sent me the DS-5535 form. And I still never heard back. So like 2 weeks later, I now started thinking, like I started Googling like what, you know, trying to figure out other people that have been through this process. And through that, you know, through that research, I was able to find some Facebook groups. I was also able to find a Telegram group that was extremely helpful. Like I feel like that Telegram group kept me sane. Seeing other people like navigate through the process and being able to share like what's working and what's not working. So through that Telegram group, I learned that it was also good to reach out to senators, like US senators. A lot of people in the group, we were not sure if it worked, but we knew it was something that was worth trying. So that's what I did. So I reached out, like my partner, my husband, reached out to like 2 senators from here, like from where he's from in the US, from his state. So he reached out to 2 senators, and they had us like fill a form basically saying that I agreed to release this information. And then the senators now reached out to the US Embassy on my behalf. So the first time, one of the senators had reached out to the US Embassy in Nigeria, and then the other senator, I think, reached out to the US Department of State. So that they did that. And then I also reached out because I live in Ohio, which is where I work as well. So I reached out to a senator as well, like some Congress people basically. So I reached out to them, the people who represent Ohio, and I explained my situation. And of course, they had me, fill out their form and sign the waiver. And then they also reached out to the Department of State, or the embassy, in the US Embassy in Abuja, Nigeria. So they tried that. So you guys, after that, let me tell you, literally on the 90th day, so 3 months Y'all, 3 months. That was when I literally received this email like, we're in the final stages of processing your visa, and you can bring your passport for stamping. Y'all, I don't even know, like, I was like, oh, it was crazy. I was super excited. Actually, let me go back. Let's perfect. Before this, like 2 days before, I actually, that's what I wanted to mention. Like, a last resort is filing a lawsuit called the Writ of Mandamus. So the Writ of Mandamus lawsuit, to my understanding of it, y'all, go to a lawyer. But to my understanding of a Writ of Mandamus, it basically forces the government to make a decision. It's important to note that they can deny you or they can, approve your stuff, but it just forces them to make a decision. It doesn't tell them what decision to make. So that's through that Telegram group. That's another option I learned, that a lot of people were going through that. But y'all, it is expensive. Like, the most affordable lawyer that I found that was able to do the process was charging $3,500, and the most expensive one I saw was up to $14,000. So if this is something that's, I guess, in your budget, if this is money that you have, that's an option you're able to consider. But there are a lot of lawyers who offer like free consultation. So I would say definitely kind of take those opportunities to kind of learn about what this is, and if that's something you're really interested in. But I am just extremely grateful and thankful to my family for keeping me sane. I am thankful to my partner and his family for reaching out to all the US senators, and also for keeping me sane. And to be honest, like, after I heard back, like 3 months, literally I told you guys, 3 months on the dot, I heard back, bring your visa, and like in 2-3 days my visa was stamped. I picked it up and then I returned back to the US. So yay, let's just celebrate that, because y'all, I was missing my apartment. Anyways, so I'm just thankful to everyone that helped me navigate that process. Let's see, is there anything else that I have? Not really. I think that's it. I would just say, like, it is extremely mentally exhausting. I don't know, like, I've said mentally exhausting so many times, and it's tough. It really is tough, because you're like, for many of us, like, I was like, I've lived in the US for over 8 years. It's like, am I throwing away those 8 years? Do I have to start from fresh? Like, I'd have to get a job in Nigeria, figure out what's next. So it's extremely frustrating, it's extremely challenging, it's mentally exhausting, but just keep the hope alive. If you haven't tried those different things I suggested, or things that I tried, which was reaching out to the US senator, reaching out to the lawyers just to see, try those options as well. And if you have a partner, if you have if your husband, your wife, whatever, is living in the US, like, have them also reach out to their senators as well, because that would just help. Honestly, I feel like the more people that reach out on your behalf, the better. So yeah, you guys, I hope that this video is extremely helpful. For those who are navigating this DS5535, I am so sorry, and I am wishing you the best of luck, and I hope that you get a positive response soon. Until next time, y'all, my name is Winnie Bush.